Well,
Good evening and welcome to the Power of Now. I'm Coach Mitchell,
and I'm Coach Darren.
and tonight we thank you for joining this live discussion as we talk about breaking through to discovering your inner strength.
Yes, which we all have. You know, unfortunately, I don't know if everybody knows how to tap into their inner strength, but we all have that innate ability to, just deal with challenges.
Which is what we're going to talk about tonight. How, some techniques and hopefully some tips that will jumpstart your capabilities again, because we all have them. We all have them. Sometimes life starts to life.
Yeah.
Life be life, and as they say, and we tend to just get caught up in the phrase of life and sometimes lose sight of our aspirations and where we want to go. And we just get caught up in the humdrum the day to day grind. So tonight we hope that some of what we discuss will empower you to tap into your inner strength so that you can get through to that next stage of where you want to be.
Yes, because life at some point will challenge each and every one of us in uh, sometimes ways we may not even comprehend, or sometimes totally unexpectedly. It's going to happen. As you say, life is going to be lifing.
Absolutely.
So I think it's important for us to be able to deal with those challenges
Mhm.
and prepare ourselves for the next breakthrough. That breakthrough could be, could vary from person to person, or you may have multiple, or you will have multiple breakthroughs throughout your life as we go through the stages of life.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think sometimes those challenges can be naturally financial, could be health, could be death, it could be loss of a relationship. Like I said, it happens. Mhm.
Exactly. I mean, and it could be any number of factors that cause us to just get stuck in the spot, right? Just get stuck. And mental health, you know,
Yes.
burnout, eh, kids,
Mhm.
just trying to be everything for everyone else, and you lose sight of yourself. So there are keys that we can actually utilize to unlock that door of being
Yes.
stuck.
Uh, and if I may, Coach Mitchell, speaking of lifing, I just wanted to share with you that I heard from my daughter about half an hour or so ago, and,
Oh, praise
and
God.
yes, and just so our audience knows me, my daughter just went through this weekend a kidney transplant, which I had gone through over the summer as a potential donor, but she was able to receive a donor, and she went through the operation. And when I tell you, when I spoke to her, she was so hyped, and I was really shocked because, again, I figured you just had this operation, but she was so energetic and so alive. So that is, again, to my lifing, that is a, let's say, prayer answered and ready to move on, with her to the next stage of her life, which is the recovery. So,
Absolutely.
so I just wanted, to share that, because that's been a long, battle of constantly worrying about her. Mm,
Well, that's amazing to hear, Coach. And we celebrate the victory of getting over that initial hurdle
yes.
of, receiving that gift,
Hmm.
because that's a tremendous, tremendous gift. And, we just thank God that she came through the surgery okay. We bless the family of the donor.
Yes.
Um, don't know all of the circumstances around it, but we certainly um, thank God and celebrate everyone that was involved, her care team,
Yes.
and we really pray that
Mhm.
your daughter has a successful recovery.
Thank you. Hmm. So, speaking of inner strength, I think, maybe we should start off by sharing our thoughts on what is inner strength. We pretty much equate it to its our ability to survive and hopefully thrive,
Hmm.
uh, you know, within our environment or whatever our circumstances may be. But what is it? I mean, what are your thoughts on how would you describe it? Mhm.
I would say our inner strength is the ability to recognize when there's a need or if there's a gap and tapping into, the, your spiritual strength,
Mhm.
your spiritual connection, um, to help you get through a period of time that may be challenging or difficult. Or even if you are on I would call it a high, if you're on a streak of just winning, if you will, if
Mhm.
you're winning in life, you don't do it just by sheer willpower. You have to be aware of the barriers, you have to be aware of your ebbs and flows, you have to be aware of, things that may take you off course so that you can actually get back on course, if you will. But I think being able to tap into um, that place of self awareness where you're able to identify different strengths and techniques, knowing what your values are, your passion for life. What do you have a zeal or a zest for that's going to keep you motivated when you get out of bed in the morning to continue to work towards a particular goal? So I think it's knowing who you are and what you want to do, what you want to be, what you aspire to be, and what you
Mm.
want to become.
Yeah, I can, I say concur with that, and I kind of see it as that ability to dig just a little deeper within yourself. Uh, you know, I guess the context in what we're going to talk about tonight is like going through real challenges and to find that inner strength so that you can move towards your next breakthrough. But as you say, Coach Mitchell, it's also, it can be you could be on a roll, but pretty much any kind of growth is going to take a little bit more to get to the next level. Uh, but we want to go a little bit deeper than a little bit more. Mhm.
Exactly.
So we want to go if you're in a place now and you feel stuck, maybe stagnant, uh, or you need to prepare for something, your next breakthrough, and it seems overwhelming. We want to talk about maybe some of the things that you can do. Um, so one of the things I think at the top of the list, yeah, by the way, anybody joining us?
Yeah, good evening, Tiffany. Thank you for joining. And
Mm,
please feel free to join the
mm,
discussion.
mm. Yeah, I think one of the attributes, and I don't, you know, we tend to fall to this attribute, but it is so important, and that is self-awareness. Now, that is key. Again, the self-awareness, being able to really see yourself
Mhm.
almost both from the outside, but also from the inside. Acknowledging the things that are going on inside of you,
Right.
I think is absolutely key to tapping into that inner strength.
I
Mhm.
agree. I agree. And I think that's important. You're so spot on because we have to know who we are
Yes.
before we can get to where we want to be,
Mhm.
right? And we don't have to be all that we think we should be in that
Mhm.
moment, but just knowing
Who we are.
who we
Mhm.
are will
Mhm.
help us achieve whatever our passions might be.
Mhm. Um, uh,
So, how do you suggest, Coach Karen, that we tap into that place of self discovery?
my first thing comes to mind outside of self awareness
Uh
is
huh.
you're going to have to be still because that part of self-discovery is actually being in the moment and really assessing what's going on around you.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a famous poem, I think it's If, I think, yeah, by Rudyard Kipling, you know, that really talks about, being in that situation. So you need to be in the moment, as we say, the power of now, and really take time to assess the situation and put it in the context. One of the things I would say to people is, are you going to die? Is this situation going to kill you
Mm-hmm.
now? And I pretty much say the majority of the time, no one's ever answered that. Yes, it will. I don't know if I have a comeback to that, but for the most part, it's no, it's not. So let's remove that off the table, and that then kind of deflates the situation.
Right. Because sometimes what we do as people, as humans, we tend to want to take the easy way out. And anything that's going to cause us to shift out of our comfort zone causes us pause, right?
Mhm.
It causes us to pause and not really push ourselves to that next limit. So I think that, you know, part of that is lacking the confidence that you'll have the ability to achieve. So in not just knowing yourself, but how do you build the confidence when you do discover that you are more than capable, you're more than a conqueror? How do you build the self-confidence and the self-esteem to move forward?
First, I said you're going to have to one first of all has to just take the step, that first step, because confidence comes from taking action. It's usually comes from the experience of doing something, which is how we end up becoming confident. Some of the skills are transferable,
Mhm.
and what I would always suggest to people, recommend to people, I say is look at something that you went through previously in your life.
Mhm.
Something that was really at the time you thought the same thing you're facing now, like, oh, how am I going to get through this? Think about something that you were in that same situation and you got through it.
Exactly. I think a real good example of that is like doing presentations,
Mhm.
right? Everyone who stands in front of an audience or goes, live to have a discussion and other people are watching, feel butterflies. You,
Mhm.
you have that tinge of nervousness. But how do you build confidence in continuing to do it or to give a presentation? Because sometimes, put it in the context of work and you're called to do a presentation and you have to put that presentation together and you have to stand before either your peers or senior leaders and deliver a message in the context of a presentation. How do you build the confidence to do that? Well, you practice, right?
Mhm.
You do a trial run, you stand in front of the mirror
Mhm. Mhm.
and you stick your chest out, put your hands by your side, or you give yourself that presentation. You do a trial run, you do a rehearsal, and hopefully that puts you in a better confidence space to go out and deliver that message with confidence, skill, and expertise, right?
Mhm. You know, Tiffany just shared a comment that we tend to overreact,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we're conditioned that way from childhood. One of the things you used to say if a child would fall down and they get ready to cry, and there's an adult and they want to run to the child.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, no, they're not bleeding. Like I said, no, no blood. Yeah, like I said, no blood, no foul. Like the kid will regroup and they'll go on their way. But when you start conditioning them that every time there's a bump, there's all this emotion,
Mm-hmm.
they become used to that and they internalize it. And then they begin to do the same thing to themselves because that's what they expect. everything is supposed to be this overreaction. And that's what I say. Ask yourself, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen?
Mhm.
Okay, so I failed. I might embarrass myself. And they say embarrassment is nothing more than the ego losing control. You
That's
know,
right.
that's all it is.
That's right.
So we build it up more than it really needs to be. And again, coming to something like public speaking, which they say is think is like second to the fear of death. Uh, it's because we're afraid we're going to embarrass ourselves or be
Or be
judged.
judged.
You
Mhm.
know, and assuming that you are, so what?
Exactly.
So what?
Exactly.
So to Tiffany's point, yeah, we overreact and we make things bigger than they are. So that's why I say, you know what? You ask somebody, are you hurt? Are you going to die? No, no. That dials it down. Now let's deal with what we can.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. So I think also before we can even get to that building the confidence, we need to take a step back and talk about if we are empowering our inner strength for our breakthrough. So that means we're getting to our next, right?
Mhm.
We first have to know what that next is,
Yes.
right? So I think goal setting
Mhm.
is top of the list and one of the examples of reaching your breakthrough. So you have to know where you're headed, meaning you need a plan.
Mhm.
You need a plan because otherwise you're in this perpetual state of stagnation and
Mhm.
complacency,
Mhm.
right?
I would even like to, can we go back just one more step? And before the plan is, you need a vision, you need a dream, you need imagination.
Yeah,
you know, and we talked before about how we lose that imagination as we become older, because again, life is lifing, so it diminishes. And we also know that we can become, they say dream squashers, or we can do that to children as they get older. Why are you daydreaming? And then we even catch ourselves as an adult when we're daydreaming. So we begin to think of it as such a bad thing
mhm,
that we no longer believe. Mhm. So you have to have that dream, that imagination, because the reality of it is, it's unreal before it becomes real.
that's right.
It's metaphysical because before it becomes physical. It's in our imagination. So what are you thinking about? What are you dreaming about? So from there, you get the vision. From the vision, you get the plan.
Right. And how do you know what you're dreaming about? How can you remember what you're dreaming about? Keeping a journal. I mean, we talk
Yes.
about this all the
Mhm.
time. You keep a journal and you reflect daily. When you keep a journal, you have the ability to go back and see the patterns that may have developed, in your course of thinking over, the course of a week, a month, even a couple of days. You can begin to peel back the layers on how you're thinking, what your frame of mind has been, what your mindset is. And you begin to see where your thoughts and your emotions over time begin to shape a pattern. And you begin to identify where your weaknesses and your strengths are.
Yes.
And that really helps measure your growth in any particular area of your life. So I think that also helps you better understand, again, what your strengths and weaknesses are and your triggers. What are those things that cause you a setback?
Mhm.
What are those things that cause you to take a step forward? What are those things that give you confidence, that boost you into taking a step towards whatever your goal might be? So,
You're actually again touching on things that really begin to qualify what inner strength is. Some of the things that when we talk about inner strength, we're thinking about endurance, resilience, perseverance. You know, thinking about that runner who, your marathon runner, who they'll talk about, you hit the wall, but then something clicks in you
Right.
and you get that next win, and then you're like, you're gone again. But all runners will tell you, yeah, you're going to come to a point where you're going to hit a wall.
Hmm.
And what gives them, what is it that allows them to keep going?
Right.
And those are the same things we want to apply when we're dealing with challenges to get
Hmm.
us from point A to point B or C or whatever it might be. But to get us to that next breakthrough.
That's right. Because when you have a setback, if you don't learn from the experience, you're not going to be able to move
Right.
out of that space or situation or that place mentally. And that's going to allow self defeat, negative narrative, self talk. So you want to be able to learn from whatever your mistake may be and use it as a catalyst to move forward, to help you grow. Because you can adapt to a situation and course correct.
Yep.
Right? So, my brother Nate, thanks for watching.
And here's some of the things that for those who may have experienced, and again, if you're at a certain age, I'm sure you've experienced it, but you're going to go through a period where you're going to experience exhaustion. Mhm. You're going to feel like you're stuck. Mhm. Uh, you may even experience getting a lack of clarity or focus. Um, and you can easily get stuck in what they refer to, the cliche as, paralysis of analysis, where you keep analyzing things over and over and over again.
Look at the comment. I think Nate beat you to the paralysis of analysis. He says sometimes paralysis sets in and it takes others to help propel you forward.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
so true.
Because here's the thing, when you lack that self-awareness, someone else on the outside can see you. You know what? Because they're sitting in the stands watching your play, so they can see it. And you have to ask yourself, when it's coming from somebody that you truly trust and you think they're being genuine, and they're telling you how this is playing out. Well, you have the ability to be open to receiving, yeah, their observation. Uh, so yes, that's key. Uh, because one of the other things too in this whole period when we're going through, like I said, I believe everybody, if you have it, you will. It is just a part of life. But you know what? You're going to have to be open to receiving, because if you're going through and you want to get to that breakthrough, you're going to come to that point where you're going to feel, like I said, stuck, and you might not know how to even get to the next level. That might not be your breakthrough level, but just to move forward, you may need help. So what I always recommend to people is you want to be open to receiving help. And here's where you don't want the ego to jump out.
That's right.
Because we will ask for those who may pray. You will pray, and you'll meditate. You'll do all these things, and in your mind, you're expecting how this is going to be delivered to you. Uh, I am big on when I say being quiet and being still in your state of being, that you can hear everything speaking to you, meaning the message that you need to hear may come from one of the most unlikely places. They call they talk about synchronicities, in the universe where things will just happen. That message will be delivered, but will you be open to receiving? Will you be open to receiving help? Mhm. And that help may not be the answer to all your prayers. All right. It may be enough to get you, as I tell people, to get you from point A to point B. Then somebody or something will show up at point B to get you to the next phase. So you just got to be open mind, open heart, and just open to how all this is going to play out.
Right.
You know? which then comes to, talk about trust and faith and all those other attributes.
Okay. A quick question, Coach. Hi, Adrian. Thank you for joining. Sharing the post, sharing the live is not possible if members are not a part of the group. So you can't share it.
No, I believe you
You
can.
should be able to, right?
Yeah, depending on which page, you cannot share anything from the group. If
Right.
they're in the Power
Yeah.
of Now group, they can't share. If they're on one of the other platforms, they should be able to share
Right.
it.
So you can share it from the page because it is
Yes.
streaming to the page. So if you go to the Power of Now's page, then you will be able to share if that is what you're trying to do.
Or you can send them to YouTube,
YouTube.
I Am Ready Network. It's streaming there.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I think that's part of it is being open and I just give me 1 second.
Mhm.
Yeah. So so again, how do you prep when you're in that spot? All
Mhm.
right. Now you recognize, okay, I'm really challenged here. I'm trying to figure this out. I can't, but I know my breakthrough's coming. That's again another key is you got it just with a belief and your faith, whatever it may be in, has to be there. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Uh, so you got to prep. You got to prepare for it.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I found, having gone through challenges, that used to overlook, that now at this point, I realize the importance of it because, first of all, I say it's important because the mind, body, and spirit are connected. And one of the things I used to overlook is when you're going through really challenging time, is you overlook your health. And without that, I know this sounds cliche, but without that, the rest of it, none of it will matter.
Mhm.
So you need to really work on your, and you alluded to this a little while ago, Coach Mitchell, your physical, your mental slash brain health, uh, and your spiritual health. You need to come in with all the guns, blaring, like I'm going to break through.
Exactly. And you have to exercise all three.
Yes.
There's a reason why they're used in tandem,
Mhm.
in conjunction with one another, mind, body, and spirit, or
Yeah.
mind, body, and soul.
Mm.
Because your mind, your brain is a muscle. You have to exercise it. If you
Mhm.
don't, it becomes flaccid.
Yeah, it's
You
use
lose
it.
you lose it. You lose it. You lose the ability to think beyond what you see. So that's why it's important to do that. And of course, your physical health.
Yes.
You have to be cognizant. You have to be so self-aware of how your body is triggered by your environment
Mhm.
and your mindset and how
Yeah.
your body reacts and responds to your mindset.
Mm.
Because if you're mentally fatigued, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be physically fatigued if you're not taking care of your body.
Yes.
And
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Coach.
and even spiritually, if you're not taking in and consuming all of that, creation has provided and you're not tapping into it, then again, you can't see beyond yourself. And we are not self-made beings, right? So I think it's so important that we embody the three, mind,
Yes.
body, and spirit. And when we're looking to work on ourselves and we're looking to grow and prosper, it's not just prosper financially, it's prosper in good health, it's prospering in physical health, in mental health, in our relationships,
Yes.
thriving in our environments. And that's not to say we're not going to have good days and bad days.
Right.
It's not to say that we're never going to be disappointed, despondent, or what have you. It's having that presence of mind, that level of self-awareness to know when you hit a point that's low, that you either, again, you have a strong support system that you can reach out to.
Mhm.
Somebody who is going to help encourage you, motivate you, someone that can talk to you to help you get back on course. So I think that is so important that, we realize that as people, relationships are critical
Hmm.
in not just our physical health, but our mental health as well. Our mental health as well is not unlike having someone pull all of the energy out of you because they're so negative. We want to surround ourselves with individuals who are positive. We're going to pour that positive energy out and help encourage and motivate us. So,
So you want to, like I said, you want to start off, like I said, with, like I said, focus on your health, again, mind, body, and spirit. You want to become mindful of what's going on inside of you, because you're very much aware of what's going on outside of you. That's what's, it may be causing all of your stress and chaos. But what's going on inside of you? Because you got to understand, just like we talk about the connection between the mind, body, and spirit, there's a connection between our inner world and our outer world. So you want to be very mindful of what you're feeling
mhm,
now, physically and emotionally. You know, be observant of your thoughts. Because guess what? You are not your thoughts. Mhm. You are the observer of your thoughts. So you want to be mindful that you don't let your thoughts. The other thing that I've heard over the years is don't believe everything that that you think, because as we always talk about our beliefs, our emotions are thoughts and our stories. You know what? You got to be mindful that, yeah, just because it popped in my head doesn't mean that it's true, because we do make up stories. Uh, you know, and one of the other things that I found to work is it goes to what the title of our program is, the power of now. You want to remain in the now. That's where your power is. That's where your next action is going to come from. It's not going to come from yesterday, and it cannot come from tomorrow. It can only come from now. So you stay in the now, and I would say to people, look at yourself, touch yourself. Are you still here? And most people say, yeah. So you're still in the game. Mhm. You're focusing so much on the worst thing that can happen. You
mhm,
know?
mhm. I just posted, shared Nate's comment. The brain has patterns that we form through repetition, and it's hard to create new habits that are positive.
Absolutely. Brother Nate, there's a whole science, on
Programming.
reprogramming. They talk about brain neuroplasticity. You know, that part of you know preventing neurological diseases, neurodegenerative diseases, is the constant learning, the constant rewiring the brain. Uh, because we fall in, especially on a subconscious level. Our subconscious habits will just keep dictating, and we will just go along, as I said, like we're in the matrix. We just go through life. You know, Even when things aren't going that bad, we're still in the rut. Mhm. uh, so you want to really, again, observe your thoughts, and then maybe even challenge them. Well, why am I thinking this way?
Mhm.
Where'd that thought come from? Mhm.
Exactly. I created an acronym out of the word magic, and it is mental acuity, gaining intelligence, inspiration, consciously, constantly, and consistently.
Okay. Yes.
So
Mhm. Um,
we have to be, again, it goes back to that self awareness. We
mhm.
have to be aware of our thoughts. And when we are aware of our thoughts, we have the capability to change how we think,
Mhm.
how we speak to ourselves, because we are our own worst critics.
Mm.
So if we are constantly self doubting ourselves or having that negative narrative with ourselves, then of course we're always going to be in a space that is counterproductive and counterintuitive to growth.
Mhm.
So we need to be mindful that we have the capability to change and combat a negative thought with a positive affirmation.
Yep.
The instant it occurs,
Yep.
the instant it occurs. I never look in the mirror and tell myself that I'm not the most beautiful woman in the world. I don't. I don't look in the mirror and tell myself I'm not capable.
Mm-hmm.
When I talk to myself like I am a coach, a mentor, and a motivator, empowering myself to command my day.
Which is why they recommend when you're doing your affirmations, you do it in front of a mirror, because there's something that occurs when you see yourself speaking to yourself. See, we can say when we're not in front of the mirror, which again has known to work, but the more powerful or the power punch is actually looking at yourself and looking at yourself in the eye.
That's right. That's right.
And saying it. It's, as I say, I'm always big on connecting the dots. Well, if the eyes are the windows to the soul, then speak to the soul.
Speak to the soul.
And there's where you get your movement.
That's right. And doing that does not mean that you're conceited. What that means is that you're fueling yourself, F-E-U, fueling yourself to go about your day, not just in a positive way, but making sure that your thoughts are set on your aspirations, and that when you go out, you're going to make somebody else's day brighter because you feel the confidence. So you want to empower others as well. And I encourage you to stand in front of the mirror and say, I am handsome. I am beautiful. I can, I will, I shall. I guarantee you'll smile.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how you're feeling. I don't care if you just woke up and you have crust in your eyes. I guarantee you'll smile.
Which makes me think of another tip that I would give people, that it's really interesting how this works. But you talk about, if you say that you'll smile, it's the same thing. If you go outside and you spread your arms and you look up, if you do that, it's a pretty good chance a smile will come in your face. It's something about that connection when you look up. You can call it whatever you want, but it's real. You got to be really in a bad mood,
exactly,
not to let that happen. Like you're preventing it from happening.
Exactly.
But if you're feeling some kind of way, yeah, talk to yourself, look in the mirror, in your eyes, go outside, look up at the sky, spread your arms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And again, it's something about that mindset shift.
Mm-hmm.
We have an acronym for that too. That shift.
Yes.
Having that ability.
Mm-hmm.
And when you find yourself thinking that you can't do a thing, shift the thought to, you know what? I may not know how yet, but I'm capable of either learning and growing or tapping into someone who can help me get to that next, whatever it might be.
Yes.
Or help me achieve this, or help me put this together, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. So I think that mindset shifts are important, and those positive thoughts to combat those negative narratives that we have with ourselves, because no one hears your thoughts. No one hears your thoughts but you. So check it before it actually becomes your reality and the norm in your conversation. Because eventually, if you keep negative thoughts festering, they're eventually going to come out in conversation and how you interact with others. So we want to course correct and shift our mindset before we get to that.
They're going to come out, and they're going to come out in your behavior, your actions. It's just the way this works. Like I said, your thoughts will lead to emotions, and your emotions will lead to your behavior, which will only reinforce the thought. Because the reality of it is, on a subconscious level, we never want to be wrong. So we have to play things out so we can say, see, I knew it. I knew that was going to happen. As I say, we can manifest both good and bad. So we want to be mindful of our thoughts, because they lead to our emotions, which then lead to our behavior. So I think when you're in the middle of the storm, one of the things, like I said, and you'll probably hear it in all facets of life, is you're maintaining your cool. In other words, your stress management. Right? So you want to do it because that's the only way you're going to think clearly. You know, uh, everything that you read or you learn will tell you, you don't want to make decisions when you're stressed. Mhm. You don't want to do anything rash. So how do you do that? You need to, get a hold of your composure. And there's a whole bunch of ways of doing it. Like always recommend doing breathing exercises. But let's just say, for instance, you want to find time for meditation, for prayer, or for quiet time, if that just works for you. You want to move. If it's going walking, if it's exercising, if it's jumping around, because that that energy that you're dealing with is building up inside of you, and you need to release it in a positive, productive way, so that it doesn't, turn on you. Mm. And just one other quick thing, when we all are trying to work through something and get to that next breakthrough, when we're stressing, we tend to seek things that are detrimental to us, like comfort food, which often is not the best for us. Uh, you know what? Vices that we may have, which we again aren't the best for. So I always tell people, you want to go for the power foods, foods that are going to make you feel better and powerful, which will push you forward. Uh, so you want to be intentional about all of this. You cannot leave it, you know, up to, you hear me imitate, such an entertainer, and I say, oh, all willy nilly. You just can't, you can't do that. You have to be a force to be reckoned with. So therefore, that's where you're, being intentional. The the other thing too, I think is important is you don't want to suppress what you're feeling, your emotions. Like I said, you want to feel so that you can heal. You got to go through the emotions. If you're suppressing or acting like they're not there or telling yourself, I shouldn't feel this way, you're just lying because you are feeling that way.
Right. You have to learn to deal with the emotions as they occur.
Yes.
There's a gospel song out by gospel artist Ty Tribbett,
Mhm.
and he's sort of a crossover artist too, a little bit. But his song is "Joy Will Come in the Morning." If you're feeling what you're feeling, and you can plug in, fill in the blank, whatever you're feeling, feel it for a day or feel it for a night. Deal with it, but in the morning, joy should come. You should replace that mindset. Feel the emotion, work it out, but move on. Don't dwell in that place.
Yes. My saying is always, been saying for years is, it's okay to have a pity party, but you just don't want to stay too long. Uh, and this is what I think where the affirmations are coming, because again, you're reprogramming uh, your whole thought process. So you want to start with your affirmations. And one of the things I found too is just telling yourself everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. Now for those who, like I said, if you believe in the whole manifestation, process, that's part of it. Speaking it into existence. Everything's going to be okay. And then you can go even into more detail. Uh,
It is a choice, Adrian. You're absolutely right. We do have to choose happiness. We have to make a conscious choice because happiness just doesn't come. I generally find myself to be overall a happy person. That's my character, my personality. But there are times when, of course, I'm human, right? I don't feel so happy. I don't want to be happy. I don't want to smile. But I have to have that self-talk with myself. And no matter what I'm feeling, I'm choosing to be happy so that I know it's going to come, because this emotion that I may be feeling or whatever I may be going through is a passing one.
Right.
I'm not going to dwell in it. Like you said, if you're going to have a pity party, have it. Don't stay too long.
Right.
Keep it moving. Choose happiness over any other emotion, even though you may feel it. but choose happiness.
Yes.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, also along to your, with your point, I have this saying, I don't know when, I don't know how, but I know it's going to work out.
Mhm.
That's my mantra,
Okay.
along with get up, rise up, go deeper,
Mhm.
whatever's going on. If it's not moving at the pace that I prefer it to move or that I want it to move or that I feel that it should move, my mantra, I don't know when, I don't know how, but I know one thing, God is going to work it out.
Mhm.
And I don't need to know the how.
Yes.
I don't need to know the how. Just keep walking, keep doing what I'm doing, as long as I'm moving towards that particular goal or moving towards getting over a bad emotion or an emotion. I won't call it a bad emotion,
Right.
but getting over an emotion that doesn't sit well within me.
That's key, because depending on what ideologies or what disciplines you utilize, they pretty much say the same thing. And one of them is when you're dealing with your vision of wanting to go forward, it is not your job to worry about the how. Once you start, one of my sayings have always been when people are like, I don't know how to start, but just start walking. Just start movement, because the movement, all right, as we say, like emotions is energy plus motion. Your movement, and it could be physical, meaning you go for a walk, or it's now just let me go start, uh, researching things. And now in the age of Google, you can easily sit at a computer. Back in the day, what sometimes it was, I would go to a bookstore or I would go to the library, and I would just allow myself to be led.
Mhm.
And something would click, which would then start another series of thoughts, which would move me forward. May not give me the exact answer, but it will move me from the spot that I'm in. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for movement forward. Uh, and I think one of the other things, Coach Mitchell, is that we also have to be compassionate with ourselves.
Absolutely.
Uh, you know what? Because as you just alluded to, we want everything to happen now, and on some level, everything is happening now. All right, we just don't see it, and we can go through a whole scientific reason as to why. But we want, as I say, we're in this microwave generation of existence that we just expect things to happen now. So you want to be compassionate and you want to be patient. That things have to align, so they have to work their way through. Uh, as long as you do your part, and your part is being consistent and being disciplined in your actions. Mm, uh,
Doing the work.
yes.
You got to put in the work with whatever it is. Put in the work to reach your goals. Put in the work to build your relationship. You have to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do the work. And as you said, Coach, being patient to know that the outcome is you're going to get the results.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to achieve that target, hit that target and achieve that goal as long as you're walking towards putting in that work.
Yes. You know what led me to truly believing that is when, I'm a big person of language and learning, not language where I can, a master of language, but learning the original meaning of words. I find that there's so much knowledge and insight when a word that we may just use casually,
Mm-hmm.
but then you find out where did that word come from. And the word like I always share is the word desire. Well, desire comes from what? It comes from of the Father or from the stars. So there's a desire in you. It was given to you. Hmm? Uh, you might figure, well, why do I have this desire to, want to do X, Y, and Z? If it's a desire that is beneficial to others, it was gifted to you. So therefore, you know what? Something's going to play out for that desire to become a reality.
Absolutely. For those that, read the Bible, it says, for I know the plans that I have for you, plans to prosper you, etc., etc. So
Hmm.
going back to what you said, the desire that you have is because it was planted in you.
Mhm.
So
So therefore, it has to grow. It has
it
to
has to grow.
manifest.
Yep, absolutely.
Unless you, in some way, shape, or form, prevent it from happening. So part of it is you go, oh, how am I going to do this? Not your concern. Mhm.
Thank you, Adrian.
Uh, so one of the things I found too is finding time to really take stock of, again, yourself and who you are. Because you may lose everything around you. You may lose all the stuff in the external world, but guess what? You are still you. Mhm. And whatever it was that got you to that point, if you tap into it and build upon it, it can get you to the next point. It was never the external things. Uh, and we put so much focus on that.
Come on, coach.
It's it's the internal. So you want to take time to think about, what, really, who am I? And it's unfortunate that most people don't. We identify with the degrees. Identify with the material
Yep.
things.
Mhm.
All of that stuff. The circles that we travel in. But guess what? None of that stuff matters one bit.
None of it.
Because we pretty much know anybody who's going through some rough times. Pretty much know a lot of those people won't even be around.
You hit on such. I think that's a topic for another night.
Mhm.
But what you just said is so important that we attach our identity.
Mhm. We did a whole segment on
Yeah, we attach our identity to the external, to
Mhm.
our achievements, to other people's ideologies.
Mhm.
We saw something today that just
Yeah.
makes you want to cringe. We're not going to get into it,
Right.
but it's the fact that as humans, we have lost sight of who we are individually,
Yeah. Ooh.
and we use other people's identity. We allow them to define our identity, I should
Yes.
say,
Mhm.
which we have to get away from. Again, another mindset shift and self-awareness. We have to come out of these limiting beliefs, things that have been imposed upon us, things that we've allowed to define us that really have no place or space within us or in our environments. We have to get back to our true, authentic self.
Self. Mhm.
That's
And-
right, Tiffany. You have to do the work from the inside out.
Mhm. And here's the thing, you know, doing that inner work, which is in most often cases, probably more often than not, is painful. It is challenging, but it also turns out to be very enlightening at the end. And you almost begin to realize that you've been carrying a weight that's probably been holding you back because your identity has not been aligned with who you really are.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
and when you realize that, you're like, oh, I've been wearing a mask, or I've been living up to somebody
Come
else's.
on, coach.
Here's they say, yeah, it's you start behaving based off of. I wish I could remember this correctly. It's who you think other people think you
You're
are.
supposed to be.
Yes,
Yes.
you know, and when you begin to say, "Let me tap into who I am," and work from there. So again, going back to I think it was uh,
Tiffany.
Tiffany's point. Yeah, you definitely got to go from inside out. And here's the thing: you're going to go in, and when you connect with that authentic self, you're going to go up.
Absolutely.
See how that? So you're going to go within, and then that raises you because guess what? Your authentic self is attached to what they call the universal consciousness. It's on a whole nother level, and you just become you move into what they call a flow state, you're just not bothered by, well, you're probably
You're
gonna,
bothered by what's going on in the universe,
you,
but you're not bothered by people's opinions of you.
yeah, you're definitely not bothered by people's opinion, because why would you be? You know who you are at that point.
I know who I am.
Because here's a quick test. If someone were to throw an insult at you that you knew without a doubt was not true, would you be bothered by it? Probably not.
No,
We only get bothered by something that we believe might have a possibility of truth.
or because we don't know who we are.
Right. Or we don't know who we are.
You
But
know?
once, like I said, you know, yeah, you're not gonna be bothered by something that somebody says that you know is not true. So the more you know who you are, the less somebody can say to you, you know, because when you know you are, you know the good and the bad, and you're okay with it because you're a work in progress.
That's right.
You know?
You know, I used to work in a very high stress environment. And I'm not going to name the company nor the position, but I'm sure anyone out here on LinkedIn who worked with me in the past will probably know what I'm talking about. But I printed a stop sign, literally a stop sign. And on the stop sign, I had stop. You will not steal my joy.
Mhm.
Because the environment was so reactive. There was, there was always a fire, always a fire. And you always had people running into your office wanting you to put out their fires. So already they're in a hyper vigilant state, right? I need this, and I need it yesterday. That stop sign posted on the outside of my office door stopped people. It gave them cause to pause. You can't just run up in someone's office and impose your state of agitation upon them.
Right.
So I say that to say, I, for a very long time, have been aware of my inner disposition, and I've been protective of it. So if we can have a calm conversation, no matter what's going on in your world, if we can talk it out, I can help you work it out. So that imposing, there was a barrier. Because if you know who you are, you know how to handle those external forces that come at you, and you're not blown off course. That's the point. You're not blown off course. You have to know your boundaries.
I was recently working, doing an executive coach session with someone in DC, and he came to one of the sessions and he said when he changed his disposition in what would have been a volatile situation, the person did not know what to do because they were so used to coming for a battle,
Yes.
and when he did not give it to them, they then almost asked him what was wrong with him.
Yes.
And he said nothing. Because he had begun to realize that self-awareness that no, I don't need that to get into this back and forth battle, and then nothing still doesn't get accomplished. Some people use it as a tool of deflection. So he said, no, we're going to solve a problem. That's why we're here having this to solve a problem. So no, I'm not interested in having an argument or a debate with
you. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that is so spot on because that having that visual to stop them would 9 times out of 10 diffuse that person's level of anxiety, I should say. And we could get to the issue at hand, which was solving a client's issue.
Yes.
That's all this is about. Like you said, it's about solving a problem.
Right.
Getting that resolution.
Because that sign, again, it brings them into awareness.
Exactly.
Because now, first of all, as I say, we got to stop. We got to look around. We got to pull everything together. And that sign, again, what it does in its own little way, it brought them into the moment.
Exactly. Like, whoa, let me check myself.
Let me check myself.
And why am I up here when I don't need to be?
Need to be. And so much of it is just conditioning. Where again, we're reactive. Uh, that meme I put out years ago. I said to you, it's you know, uh, things will happen to us, throughout life, and the quality of life is how we respond. It's our response ability that makes the difference. Uh, because things will trigger us. We all have triggers, and I think the other thing that is really important is, Coach Mitchell, you you know, tapped, you tapped on this, is that just because we're coaches, or just because you have a positive, mental attitude, whether you're a faith-based person, whatever those are, it does not mean, these people don't have challenges.
Correct.
Because some people try to twist it, well, you're always thinking positive, why are you upset now? Because I'm human.
Because I'm human.
What all of these things give us, they give us a toolbox to tap into to allow us to work through these challenges to that inner strength. It doesn't mean that we're not going to have them. It just means we're better able to work through them.
Correct.
And our frustration comes for everyone is when we feel we don't have the means to work through something. When things aren't going our way, we all throw our temper tantrum. Until we learn to say that things not going our way is part of the process. It's part of our journey. And it may be disappointing,
but it's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity. As they say, what's it? You got to put iron in the fire for it to become steel, or something like that. I forgot. Yeah, but you get my point. It is just part of our process, and the more that you're asking for, I've come to believe, the more challenging your journey will be. And I don't care about, again, your education, your your family history, but somehow something will come and just make you realize that you are human. Mhm. And if you are able to grab hold of that, you really will go to another level. All right. Now, I want everybody to hold on here, that you are really a spirit in human form. And if you can tap into that spiritual part of who you are, you're more likely to move through those challenges. Because like I say, all this physical stuff, that's just an illusion. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah, so I think, Coach, we have run the gamut tonight, and we could go on and on, but we want to thank our viewers and those who were engaged tonight. We so appreciate it. We can go on and on, but we thank you for giving us the additional time to talk about such, I think, a very important and much necessary conversation. We can't talk about self-awareness enough. We can't talk about our inner strength enough. So I think that, we'll probably do another part to this discussion, because again, it's very rich in content. So, Coach, any last
I will say,
minute advice?
Yeah, that you are much more than you have been led to believe you are. Much more. I often think, I probably say all of us at some point, whether it's junior high, high school, we all went to health class. And the only thing I remember from health class was them talking about reproductive. They were trying to, I guess, prevent us from making babies in high school, junior high. No one ever taught us about what it meant to be healthy, or the true power of the human mind, body, and spirit. No one ever taught us that. So we don't know the power that resides within us. You know, so I think as we tap into that, here's where you will find your inner strength. You know? And I think there it will, that is what will propel you forward. No matter where you are right now, just know that you are much more than you have ever been led to believe.
Amen.
Mhm.
On that note, I'm Coach Mitchell.
And I'm Coach Darren.
Remember, if you don't start now, there will be no next. Join us tomorrow night at 8 p.m. right back here for Inside Outside on Wellness Wednesday, where we hope you will help you journey on your health and wellness journey to a more healthier state.
And with that, yes, and then join me on my I Am Well podcast on Monday. For those who are looking to start their health and wellness journey, I will be providing, kind of a blueprint to help jumpstart you. Because you know what, New Year's coming up now, and everybody's going to be running at the last minute trying to get their goals. Why wait till then? Start now.
Absolutely, and you'll be posting that on the Power of Now's page as a reminder. So, good evening, everyone. Again, thank you for joining us, and thank you for gracing us with a couple of extra minutes tonight. Again, I'm Coach Mitchell.
And I'm Coach Darren. Thank you very much.